2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. All council members are present with the exception of Council Member Hefta. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first item up is public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for town residents and other interested individuals to speak about items that are not on tonight's agenda. This comment period is limited to the first 30 minutes of the meeting, and if there's carryover, we'll get it at the end. You must sign up ahead of time in order to speak. And the council will accommodate as many speakers as we can during that first 30 minutes. So on my list, I have one gentleman from Castle Rock. I looks like we know him, but not sure he's from Castle Rock. I didn't know that. So Ron Red, thank you, sir. Mr. Parker Water and Sand.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to let you know I heard I had 30 minutes, so that's just great.
You do. Council, if you need a break in that 30 minutes, please feel free.
So thank you, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to take this opportunity to personally invite you to our water symposium that we're having in 2 weeks from tomorrow. It is July 23rd. We start breakfast early. We know people are busy. From 7 to 8, we will provide breakfast, and then 8 to 10, we'll have speakers. And I've been asked to do some tours as well, so we'll provide that of the reservoir or the new building, whatever people are after. But this is a water symposium hosted by South Metro Water Supply Authority and Parker Water. The goal of this, we came up with this a few months ago, is to provide an opportunity for elected officials, and in this year, those who want to be elected officials, to come in and learn about Douglas County water. This is not just a Parker Water event, but Douglas County water. And so we actually have a pretty good lineup. Senator Cleve Simpson will be opening us up. He'll be talking about legislation, water legislation that happened last year and what he sees coming for the coming session. And then we have really 3 speakers. So if you haven't heard Lisa Darling talk about the history of South Metro Authority, and she goes back decades and things that happened in Denver and Aurora that eventually paved the way for South Metro. It's a really fascinating presentation. Mark Marlowe, who's the Utilities Director for Castle Rock, is going to talk about Castle Rock's long-term plan, as well as, you may have heard, they're working with the county on the Santa Fe corridor and providing water and wastewater services around there. So you get a good sense what's going on the west side. And then I've invited our ag partners down from Sterling to speak with me on our Platte Valley and give everyone an update of where we're at on that. So you'll be getting an email. I think it's actually going to go to your town manager, to you guys, but I wanted to put some context behind that. And you're my council, so I wanted to make sure that I personally invited you, and it'll be a great time. It's going to be the best thing to do on a Tuesday morning, I promise you.
Ron, what's that date again?
It's the 23rd of July, Tuesday.
July 23rd. Okay.
So you don't have to be there at 7 for breakfast, but we will be open and ready.
Excellent. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else from the public wishing to make public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports, items, and comments from mayor and council. We will start to my left with a returning council member, Wilkes.
Yes, so on June 16th, did a ribbon cutting for Susie Soft Paws. And, you know, for all of us animal lovers out there, I'm excited to try this one out with my fur baby. And then on the 17th, we had a ribbon cutting for the new Veterinary Center of Parker. They just opened up a new building. So they're over by Dakota Tavern, and it's a gorgeous building. And they've got all of these cool amenities there, as well as grooming. And they're not grooming, I said the wrong thing, as well as their vet services. They also have these great lounges, and the kids can go in. And I really enjoyed seeing their new center. And then today we had the Douglas County Youth Initiative Board meeting. We're discussing what Youth Congress is going to look like this October. And the main thing that we're focused on is really the mental health. Alarming stat today came in, and I don't remember the exact number, so I'm not going to say it, but something about how many of our elementary school students are suicidal and have those tendencies, and what we can do to help with their mental health. It's not just middle school and high school and adult thing. So I'm looking forward to getting all of our masterminds together and figuring out what we can do to help give our kids this mental health resources that they need. Other than that, I enjoyed my vacation. Thanks.
Councilmember Dyak?
Thank you very much. 13th, I had an E470 board meeting. We did a bond refunding for about $200 million of bonds, about 5 times oversubscribed. We saved about 9% on the net present value. We also brought in a new executive director, Joe Donahue. Joe is a financial person. He used to be the E470 financial director a number of years ago before he went off and joined a consulting firm. Came back to us and liked him, so we wanted to bring him aboard full time. The 19th, I went to the CML conference in Loveland. Congratulations to Councilmember Rivero for successfully winning the position on the CML executive board. It was good to reconnect with friends throughout Colorado who are electeds. Let's see, 25th went to one of the employee appreciation events, pancake breakfast. Always, if anybody has a need to get pancakes, flipping flapjacks, always give you a great meal. The next day, Bike to Work. As part of Dr. Cog, we advocate, fund Bike to Work Day. The town of Parker, as well as many other municipalities, provide stops along their bike trails to sort of celebrate those who bike to work. So it was very well attended. When I was there, lots of people willing to sit and talk about things in general. The 28th, the E470 went up to the 30th Avenue interchange. That's the Aurora Highlands area. That is a brand new interchange that Aurora Highlands partnered with E470 on. A lot of Adams County commissioners, City of Aurora council members. It's going to be a great interchange that opens up the area there for decades of future growth. And on the 30th, I went to the the farmers market in Parker. The focus was mainly on transportation, a little bit on recreation, but we got questions that span everything. So that's my report.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yeah, I attended also the farmers market booth for mostly road improvement projects like Chambers Road and Dransville Extension and Salisbury Park North expansion. So talking to a lot of citizens about that was really fun. And that's it.
Councilmember Barrington?
I can't remember if I gave this update, but from the 10th through the 13th, I was in Sacramento for the National League of Cities committee meetings. From the 18th through the 21st, I was also at the Colorado Municipal League Conference. On the 25th, I met with the executive director of Covered Colorado. And on the 27th, we had a board meeting for the Douglas County Housing Partnership. And last week, we enjoyed a week off.
And also from a returning council member, Josh Rivero.
Appreciate it. Yeah, back from my vacation. Flew home in the midst of it to run for Colorado Municipal League Executive Board. 270 cities, towns, and villages in the state of Colorado are represented by the Colorado Municipal League. And 21 executive board seats are available, and 11 of us got on. And I'm happy to say that with a lot of support from this team and our regional support from other cities and towns, I got voted on, and I'm very, very proud to continue my service. CML, it was 1,200 attendees from elected officials to town staffs to legal teams were in the conference, and just a great chance to connect regionally with our fellow people who serve their communities in the aspect that we do. So thank you very much. It's good to be back.
Great. And Councilman Rivero, just to add from the council, congratulations on that appointment. And as a guy who publicly says he doesn't like the campaign, that was one heck of a campaign. It was a...
You know what? I appreciate it. If I may, Mr. Mayor, I apologize. I wanted to say a shout out to Leanna and crew. Cheryl, an incredible thank you for their efforts while I was away. So I had to create this campaign while I was on vacation, come back in the midst of vacation, campaign, and then go back. So yes, thank you to the team, Michelle. Incredible job.
It's the way to do it. All right. Consent agenda is our next topic. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of the consent agenda items unless council votes to remove an item for individual discussion. Ordinances on the consent agenda are for introduction only, will not be removed for discussion. So council, for your consideration, you have items 4A through 4F.
I move to approve consent agenda items 4A through 4F, please.
Second.
Motion is made by Rivero, second by Hendricks. Rivero?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Aye.
And that passes 5-0. Next up is our public hearing. So I will go ahead and open up that public hearing at 7:10 p.m. And that is the Parker Homestead filing number 1, Amendment 2, use by special review, drive-through, applicant AMK Consultants. And we have Amber Hicken with us. Hi, Amber.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. Again, this is the Parker Homestead drive-through use by special review application request. The subject property, highlighted in blue here, is located southwest of the intersection of Chambers Road and Double Angel Road. The property is bounded to the north by Chambers Road, to the east by Double Angel Road and the Echo Park Stadium football field, to the south by residential and vacant commercial land, and to the west by vacant commercial land. The applicant is requesting a use by special review to construct a drive-through associated with a proposed 17,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial building. The building will serve a number of end users that will benefit the surrounding community. The site plan for the building is currently under review and will be approved administratively. The drive-through is located on the southwest side of the building, hidden from Chambers Road and limiting any negative visual impacts from the main thoroughfare. The drive-through will be screened by the proposed streetscape on both sides of the private drive immediately to the south of the property, Disha Drive. The future construction of additional commercial buildings on lots 3 and 4 to the south will also screen the drive-through from view. A daycare has been approved on lot 4 just last month. The applicant has submitted a drive-through queuing analysis and a traffic study as part of the site plan for the proposed multi-tenant commercial building. The drive-through will meet all queuing requirements listed in the Town Land Development Ordinance as approved through the site plan process. In 2011, the subject property was zoned Parker Homestead Plan Development, which is composed of 5 planning areas. The proposed drive-through is located within Planning Area 1, Mixed Use Neighborhood Center, which allows for commercial, service, and office uses with drive-throughs as a use by special review. The property is located within a neighborhood center in the Main Street Master Plan character area of the Parker 2035 Master Plan. Neighborhood centers allow for commercial uses and are planned to serve the basic needs of the surrounding residents. The multi-tenant building and associated drive-through component are classified as commercial uses, which are consistent with the General Land Use Plan Neighborhood Center recommendations in Chapter 6 of the Master Plan. There are 9 criteria used to evaluate a use by special review. These criteria ensure that the use will be compatible with the character of the surrounding areas and neighborhoods. The proposal is consistent with the master plan and adequate services exist to serve the proposed site. The impacts created by the proposed single-lane drive-through will be mitigated through its location on the back of the building, screening it from view of the main thoroughfare, Chambers Road. The drive-through will additionally be screened from view and any negative impacts for the residents to the southwest, such as headlights and noise, through landscaping on Disha Drive and the future commercial developments on the Parker Homestead lots 3 and 4 to the south of this site. After evaluating the proposal and criteria, staff has determined that the proposal meets the 9 criteria set forth in the Town Land Development Ordinance. The project is consistent with the master plan, and all referral agency comments have been satisfied. Therefore, staff recommends that Town Council approve the Parker Homestead use by special review to allow for a drive-through. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer questions the council may have. The applicant has also got a presentation for you this evening.
Thanks, Amber. We'll start off with staff questions. To my right, Councilmember Hendricks,
No questions right now.
Councilmember Barrington,
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Rivero.
Thank you. Under the screening you mentioned, are we relying wholly on landscape, or will be the headlight wall as the turn is made near the houses?
So the site plan is still currently under review. There's nothing approved there.
Okay.
We're in talks with
installing a knee wall along that southern side.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Dyak
No questions.
and Councilmember Wilkes.
Has there been a traffic control study performed?
Yes, there has been, and I can let the applicant speak a little more to that, but they determined that 12 spaces are required for this drive-through at the peak hours of the end user that the drive-through will serve, and that that's sufficient for the use at peak service hours.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, if you want to bring the applicants up and introduce yourselves.
Good evening, respected Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for taking time and reviewing our application here. We sincerely appreciate it. So my name is Rama Kalagura. I'm representing Tejas Ventures Inc. and I'm accompanied by Dharma and GV, who are the executive committee of Tejas Ventures Inc. It is a S corporation, Colorado-based company. The founders of this company are 6 individuals which have extensive retail experience, and we have gas stations that we are operating in Havana, Aurora, as well as in Parker today. The company's ownership, in terms of the ownership, it is co-owned by Mitra Investments and Holdings LLC, which is the parent company of Tejas, and we are part of the ownership on that, and as well as a group of investors combinedly basically owns the Tejas Ventures Inc. And again, like I said, Mitra Investments and Holding LLC has specialized in building, constructing gas stations as well as operating. Right, we've been doing that for the last 15 years. We have 2 gas stations that we are operating today. And this is our 3rd project. We pivoted and basically doing a retail space. Combinedly, the Mitra owners possess over 70 combined years of experience developing and operating retail businesses. That's our background. And in terms of the project location, it is basically located right at the intersection of Chambers Road and Double Angel. And the complete lot is basically 8.14 acres. And this is where the lot 2 is thank you. The lot 2 is where we are actually constructing the retail space. And we basically conducted a thorough analysis of the community needs, and we ensured that it is going to help. It's going to be a right blend. So therefore, we made a decision to basically have a retail space at this location. And here is the high-level site plan. Like Amber mentioned, like it's a multi-tenant commercial building, totaling about 17,025 square feet. It is facing the South Chambers Road. The proposal aligns with the Parker 2035 master plan for a neighborhood commercial center. It basically possesses the whole point of basically here, what we are presenting is to basically requesting the UBSR application and an approval on that. So we have a 310-foot long drive-through lane to support the need of the National Coffee House. And we are basically looking at 7 retail spaces ranging from anywhere from 1,800 to 3,500 square feet. We are planning around 75 parking spots to the overall building here, to this specific retail space. And commercial uses are permitted by the Parker Homestead Development Guide, and it is recorded in Douglas County on September 19, 2011. Drive-through lane is permitted in Development's Guide section 140, uses permitted by special review and requires UBSR approval. That's why we are here. And moving on to the criteria section here, will it be harmony and compatible with the character of surrounding areas and neighborhood? Obviously, yes. We have professionals that we hired who had a proven track record in meeting the Town of Parker development requirements. They've been working with Town of Parker for a very long time. They have great experience in basically conducting the design and architecture of this type of businesses. The strategic placement of the drive-through lane is behind the building to basically minimize the obstructions. And the ample queue lane length is approximately, like I said, it is 310 feet, ensuring there is efficient traffic flow. And is it going to be inconsistent with the Town of Parker master plan? Absolutely, yes. These uses are inconsistent with Parker's 2035 master plan updated on December 3rd, 2018, which designates this commercial site as a neighborhood commercial center. This site is shown in the 2035 master plan, Chapter 6, General Land Usage on the page 2049. In terms of the undue traffic congestion, a detailed traffic study was conducted by David Evans and Associates, Inc. Multiple mitigations have been taken to support the free traffic flow. The total land of 10 acres commercial site has 3 separate entrances, one from the Chambers Road, and then we have 2 entrances from the Double Angel, which helps in basically mitigating some of the traffic flow congestion that we're talking about here, right? All intersections are forecasted to operate at the right, all intersections are basically forecasted to operate at the right level of service with the projected land use, and 95th percentile of intersection queuing analysis compiles with the project Parker Homestead traffic impact analysis. And also, the site plan is designed for a national coffee shop and it has adequate to store estimated queue length of 11 during the high peak hours. That's what we have done in terms of mitigating some of the risks that are associated with the traffic congestion that we have. And lastly, will not cause any significant air, water, or noise pollution. Like Amber mentioned, basically, this is a drive-through lane. The traffic, it's going to be a slow speed of drive-through vehicles that we are talking about, so absolutely there is no noise. It is not going to basically conduct any kind of significant air or water pollution here. The residential neighborhood is located 400 feet away from the specific drive-through, which is basically they're going to experience either no noise or a very low-level noise. And also in between, you are basically talking about having other commercials building coming in the Lot 3 and Lot 4, which also basically mitigates some of this risk associated with air, water, and noise. And we're talking about ordering speakers located midway on the back side of the building to minimize the impact of the residential neighbors. And lastly, we're also talking about adequately supporting the required landscaping, buffered, and screens. The drive-through lane runs parallel to the Disher Drive, which has landscaping in between with adequate treatment, including trees and bushes and additional screening, right? So, and again, the same point I want to emphasize here is we're talking about 400 feet away from the near neighborhood. This drive-through is located that far away, so there is absolutely not going to be any issues, and it's going to be screened in the right way. And again, future commercial buildings are going to be there in between. So these are all some of the criteria that we're basically try and justified, and we work with the town of Parker to ensure it complies with everything that is needed. So we request you to kindly consider this application and approve it, please.
Great. Thank you, sir. We're going to have some questions for you, so I will start in that same order. Councilmember Hendricks, any questions?
No questions.
Councilmember Barrington?
No, I don't think I have questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Rivero?
Thank you. I think my only question goes back again to the screening. I found it interesting that you put that in the second criteria, and I thought that was well done. It's usually answered in the light pollution and towards the end of the criteria there. I think that is my biggest concern or my biggest question, in the sense that we know that cars in drive-throughs have their headlights on, especially cars nowadays always have their headlights on, and cars that are parked are less of a bother to the surrounding neighborhood. So I would just encourage cooperation in that with staff to make sure that light pollution is not an issue for the community.
Absolutely. We'll take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Councilmember Dyak?
I have no questions at this time.
And Councilmember Wilkes?
So can you go back to, I think it's slide number 2, where you show the grid of what you're projecting or proposing for the whole site? Yeah, that one. So looking at 3 and 4, I see that those don't have stuff right now. So do you have any plans for those?
So those Lot 3 and Lot 4 is not owned by us.
Okay.
It's, I think, the original landowner, I think they're basically trying to develop a daycare there. And I don't know more details on the Lot 4, what is coming on our way, but we don't own those 2 lands.
Okay, thank you for that. And then on the 11 cars during peak hours for the national coffee chain, I think there's 11 cars at every coffee shop at, the slowest time in our town. And so I'm just a little concerned on where those numbers came from for that.
So this was conducted by David Evans, and we have the complete comprehensive study and analysis. I'm happy to actually submit that detailed report. And again, it was conducted, the traffic study was conducted in different timings of the day. And that's where this 11 cars is coming from. And I'm happy to basically provide that information in more details. It's a very good comprehensive study that we conducted.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one quick question for you.
Sorry.
So this, and I think I've got the area right, but this is kind of up off the road, kind of.
A little.
It's a bit of a hill.
Yeah.
Are you all taking it down to road level, or is it going to stay? What's the topography look like?
We are in the
Again,
process of actually creating the site plan on that, sir.
Okay.
And absolutely, we are again going back and forth on the comments, and we are basically taking care of all the measures that Town of Parker is basically requesting us to do on that.
Okay.
But certainly, it is going to comply with Town of Parker.
But it is a hill up there, right?
It is a hill, but again, with the site plan going in, I mean, we're talking about bringing in some grading levels to the right level that Town of Parker is seeking for.
Okay, great. Thanks, sir. All right, with that, we will open this up for public comment at 7:25. If anyone from the public wishes to make public comment on the Parker Homestead Filing Number 1, Amendment 2, use by special review. Seeing none, we'll close that at 7:26 and bring it back to council for any final comments. Councilmember Rivera, you want to start us off?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here today and presenting yourself. I will acknowledge, first off, I always weigh very heavy the applicant's response to the 9 criteria, and I found your answers very well written, very in-depth. And again, I don't often see the screening in the first criteria's answers, and I appreciate that, because when we weigh these, some are very applicable to what we're weighing today, and some of them are set by code and whatnot. But usually, screening is answered in, as I said, usually in 7 and 8, and you addressed it in 2, and that's kind of why I focused on it, and I wanted to let you know why I did. So in front of us today are the 9 criteria, and I have found that you have, as long with staff and as yourself, have met the 9 criteria. I want to point out specifically criteria 1, harmony, and again, this is where you stated the screening was part of being harmonious to the neighborhood. When I look at this one, I usually look at the use. Is use harmonious to the area? And that's answered as a neighborhood center. Is this a neighborhood center use? And regardless of whether it requires a use by special review or not, is it harmonious to the neighborhood? It absolutely is. And this is very much needed in this area. We have a dark corner in that part of our town that needs some services for themselves over there. So I definitely find it in harmony. And secondly, will it be consistent with the master plan? And I appreciate your answer on this one specifically, because you were almost, in some points, word for word with the staff answer. And so that's appreciative. I think that is well answered, and I truly thank you for that. And then the other 7 were well answered also. I'm in favor of this tonight. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Barrington?
I agree. I read the staff report, and thank you for your presentation. And your presentation was very thorough, so I appreciate that. And I feel like based on the 9 criteria, this proposal meets the criteria.
Thank you. Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes, thank you for the presentation, and there's definitely a dearth of services out on the west side of Parker, so I know this will be welcome, and I agree with my fellow council members. It meets the 9 criteria and the master plan, so I am in approval of this.
Councilmember Dyak?
Yeah, no, I think, again, sort of with the neighborhood centers, if you will, they're kind of evolving and changing. It used to be dry cleaners, and I think it's being replaced by coffee shops now. So, and to Councilmember, I mean, it just, you can't build enough of those. It feels like Councilmember Wilkes had a similar comment. But no, I mean, I think the criteria was stepped through very nicely in the presentation. The light pollution with the wall and with future development coming, I don't see any challenges there. The only challenge I see is when this national coffee shop gets built and discovered, there's going to be more than 11 cars waiting to get coffee, I think. So, sounds great.
Councilmember Wilkes?
Yeah, so, I mean, I agree, except for on criteria number 6 with the result in undue traffic congestion and traffic hazards. I mean, I know this area very well, and you know, when you've got the stadium right there and you have the church right there and I have a proposed daycare right there, all of those are going to create high traffic at some point in time. And I've yet to see a coffee shop, especially a national one, not have traffic buildup, and that's just on a street that doesn't have a lot of congestion on that. So I'm open to discussion with my fellow council, but I'm a little hung up on the traffic side of this and what that would look like, having this coffee chain wrap out onto Chambers Road, knowing that, you know, when the games get out, the line's already backed up. And then if you have a cross traffic of people who get out of the game, they're like, oh, I want to go to this coffee shop. What's that going to do to our traffic congestion on one of our main arteries there? So
So I would say what we could refer back to, in my opinion, if you would, sorry. Refer back to the staff report and how they answered it. They will have a site plan that if they move forward will be granted to them with certain contingencies in that site plan. If they do not match that site plan or they exceed that site plan and their parking or their stacking is over and abundant what they project, then they will have to mitigate and address that in their site plan, per se. So in front of us today, that's where I kind of look at our code, and our staff agrees that our code, that their traffic engineers have deemed that this is adequate to what this use is. I'm not a traffic engineer, so I can't say to that. I always look back on the enforcement arm being the safeguard there, that their site plan will be that this is what they said they're going to have, this is what they're going to have. There are other uses in our community that have gone above and beyond their site plan, and they've been forced to mitigate with the heavy hand of this town that we obviously do not like to do, but we will do for the safety of our community. And so that will be addressed at a later date if it is even feasible or needed. So that's always my safeguard on the traffic here.
Yeah, my comments were kind of tongue-in-cheek about more than 11 cars. I mean, I think through our process, through the traffic plan, with the professionals giving opinions, I think our staff will have enough information to ensure that we have as much ability to curtail any issues. And I think with grand openings, you're probably going to have an abnormal amount of people come in potentially. But it settles down, and I think if our professionals, our staff, can work with the traffic report, you know, I think I have no issues with this. I just know that coffee shops, I don't drink coffee, but coffee shops are very, very popular, as my 16-year-old has told me.
I've heard.
Yes.
Councilor, any follow-up? So we won't, and I just want to point out from Amber, this is going, after this, the site plan will be reviewed and approved administratively, so the council won't see this project again.
Correct.
Correct. So this is your last bite at the apple.
yeah. So you guys basically feel, and I do refer to you guys on this because you've gone through these site plans throughout the town for over a decade. So you guys feel that even if there is a slight variance in 11 cars at the peak versus what we actually believe will be the peak, you feel that if there's an issue, it's something that can be addressed and mitigated at a later date.
I think that what's important in front of us is whether or not they meet the criteria. And they're going to bat tonight saying that they are going to meet the criteria. And their study says that they will meet the criteria. And so to think that there could be more than 11, or to, under, you know, my personal experience, maybe there's more than 11, possibly. But you know, that would be up to their site plan and up to staff to review where they're going to stack those extra cars if and when that does happen. Is there adequate stacking space on busy rushes? You know, all of that can happen prior to. It'd be very hard for us to rule that it doesn't match the criteria when, in my opinion and in staff's opinion, it does match the criteria today.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? No? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion on the Parker Homestead Filing Number 1, Amendment 2, Use by Special Review.
I move to approve based on the findings contained in the staff report with the following conditions. I have to say this. The UBSR application supporting materials submitted to the town on April 30th, 2024 shall be the approved UBSR materials. And second, the UBSR approval shall expire 24 months after the date of approval unless the use has commenced or a grading or building permit has been issued. The LDO permits the Community Development Director upon written request to grant an 180-day extension.
Second.
Motion is made by Hendricks, seconded by Rivera. Rivera?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Aye.
And that passes 5-0. Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up is ordinances regarding the Lincoln Avenue Jordan widening project. And of course, if it's Patrick Burke, they're lengthy. So while you're making your way, I'll start reading. First up is ordinance number 1.619 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the right-of-way purchase and sale agreement by and between DSSM Holding LLC and the town of Parker for a portion of Lot 2, Lincoln Meadows filing number 3 for the Lincoln Avenue widening project, and ordinance number 1.620 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the right-of-way purchase and sale agreement by and between Ritchie's Parker Express Car Wash LLC in the town of Parker for a portion of Lot 4C, Lincoln Meadows filing number 2, First Amendment for the Lincoln Avenue widening project. It's all yours, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. These two ordinances before you tonight are a continuation of the Lincoln Jordan widening project acquisition effort that started back a couple months ago. We do have a few more coming up in the next couple council meetings. The vicinity map shown on the screen here shows the two parcels that are being discussed tonight. These two acquisitions are for permanent easements along the frontage of these properties to accommodate widened sidewalk. So a quick background of where we're at. In 23, Town Council approved two ordinances to proceed with good faith negotiations for the needed right-of-way and easements. Since that time, we have reached out to all 25 property owners, and as of today, we have signed agreements from 17 property owners. 9 of those were previously approved by council. 3 were temporary construction easements only, which did not require council action. 2 are being presented tonight. We have 3 more that will be presented over the next 2 council meetings. So we do still have a few owners that are out that we're working through negotiations. So the 2 parcels tonight, as mentioned, are DSM Holdings, parcel 22, and Ritchie's Parker Express Car Wash, which will be parcel 30. The total cost for these acquisitions is $71,800. Funding has been appropriated in the 2024 Highway and Streets Capital Projects Fund. These ordinances are required to approve the right-of-way sale, purchase and sale agreements, and the project could not continue in its current state without their approval. The next 2 slides are just a quick view of where these easements are located on the parcels. As mentioned, the easements are along the frontage of these parcels. They're necessary to widen the sidewalk through there, as well as a curb ramp on the west side of this parcel, 22. So it is 1,856 square feet of permanent easement, total cost of $48,300. And the second parcel, parcel 30, is 805 square feet, the same frontage for sidewalk construction. So staff recommends town council approve ordinances 1.619 and 1.620 on second reading. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
All right, council. So we'll take your questions on both ordinances, but we're doing 2 separate votes here. So start to my left, Councilmember Dyak. Any questions for staff?
No questions.
Councilmember Wilkes?
None, thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks?
None.
Councilmember Barrington?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Rivera?
Just one on second ordinance on the Ritchie property. I know I like to wash my car, as Councilman Hendricks knows, and I know it gets pretty tight there. Are we coming into their approach lanes there, or is it not affecting their layout?
It will not affect their layout.
My wife thanks you for asking that question too. So, all right, with that, we will open it up for public comment at 7:39. Anyone from the public wishing to make comment on ordinance number 1.619 or 1.620? Seeing none, we'll close it at 7:39. And council, in the reverse order, any final comments, Councilmember Rivera?
None. Good work. Got a few more to go, but appreciate you knocking out these hard corners first.
Councilmember Barrington.
Yep, we're nearing the home stretch.
Councilmember Hendricks.
No comment.
Councilmember Wilks.
None, thank you.
Councilmember Dyak.
Nah, I'm looking forward to the project.
All right, and Patrick, you know, right, if those lanes shorten, it's going to be trouble. It's going to be Rivera and Toberg, but not this one, so.
Sorry, I don't drive the truck anymore. So it's not so bad.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance number 1.619 on second reading.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.619 on second reading, please.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Rivera, seconded by Barrington. Rivera?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilks?
Aye.
And that passes 5-0. Next, I will entertain a motion on ordinance number 1.620 on second reading.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.620 on second reading, please.
I'll
Second.
second.
No.
I'll take Barrington. Rivera?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Motion was made by Rivera, seconded by Barrington. Rivera votes aye. Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilks?
Aye.
That passes 5-0. You practiced on getting 2 at a time. Now we're going to get 3 at a time here. So, Parker Road Sidewalk Trail Improvements. So I've got 3 ordinances to read into the record, and Chris will lead us through that. Ordinance number 1.618 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Parker and Brian M. Burr and Bryn L. Spencer Burr concerning the Parker Road Sidewalk Trail improvements south of Parker Square Drive. Ordinance number 1.621 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Parker and Colorado Flooring Industries Incorporated and Red Parker TIC LLC concerning the Parker Road Sidewalk Trail improvement south of Parker Square Drive. And lastly, ordinance number 1.622 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Parker and Massini DT LLC concerning the Parker Road Sidewalk Trail improvements south of Parker Square Drive.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm filling in for Tom Gill tonight, who's out for a family appointment. Back in July of 2023, you approved ordinance 1.587 regarding a multi-use path that we're going to be acquiring easements for along the east side of Parker Road. North end, Sulphur Gulch, south end is just south of Parker Square Drive. There's 7 properties that are identified with that intent to acquire. This one tonight affects 3 of those. The mayor gave a very good review of the 3 names of them. Total acquisitions for the easements is $66,300 based on appraisals and negotiations, and funding has been appropriated as in the Highway and Streets Capital Improvements Fund. And we need to do 3 ordinances for the 3 memorandums of agreement. This is a vicinity map, just to refresh you where the project is. North end is Sulphur Gulch, south end is south of Parker Square Drive. There's actually 2 segments that we're building. There's a section that's built with sidewalk north of Hilltop. So this takes care of some gaps that are out there. First one, parcel 2, is on the Burr property. This is the former Village Inn site. Total acquisition here, 650 square feet of permanent easement, 2,120 square feet of temporary construction easement necessary to build this. Next one is Colorado Flooring property. This is property 11. This is the Carpet Exchange building. 1,088 square foot permanent easement and 2,306 square foot temporary construction easement necessary. And the last one is parcel 10. This is the Del Taco restaurant site. It actually changed hands from the intent to acquire from a year ago, but there's 848 square foot of permanent easement and 42 square foot of temporary construction easement to build this sidewalk along Parker Road. None of these sidewalk improvements affect the sites. It is in a landscape buffer along Parker Road. And staff recommends town council approve the 3 ordinances. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Chris. We'll start off with questions. Councilmember Wilks.
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Dyak.
Just no questions.
Councilmember Hendricks.
No question.
Councilmember Barrington.
No questions.
Councilmember Rivera.
No question.
All right, with that, we'll open it up for public comment at 7:44. Anyone wishing to make public comment on any one of these ordinances? Seeing none, we'll close at 7:44 and we'll come back in that reverse order. Councilmember Rivera?
No, I mean, these are obviously much needed for the sidewalk, long-awaited sidewalk on the east side of 83. I'm just surprised at how small CDOT's easement is on that side of the road and just how,
Well, the bulk of the sidewalk's actually in CDOT's right-of-way.
Okay.
These are just small sliver strips.
Okay.
We're building a 10-foot wide sidewalk along there, and just
it's a trail at that point.
trail, it's a multi-use trail,
That's right.
sidewalk trail.
More funding for trails, not sidewalks.
Yeah, there is more for the multi-use. So it's this 10-foot wide trail, just a few feet onto private property. I wish it would have been built with the original development, but here we are, we're building it today, and this is a continuing multi-year, decade process of building sidewalks along Parker Road.
Absolutely. I think it's important to point out that, when the town does identify the need for the easements, they don't come free. We don't get to go in and say, we need this land for an easement. It costs the community. As you saw in the previous ordinances, and as you see in these ordinances, we have to pay for that property.
All right, Councilmember Barrington?
I think they're much needed, and I think we're heading in the right direction. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Hendricks?
I agree, much needed, and we'll have extra sidewalk space for the citizens. Thank you.
Councilmember Dyak?
It just feels like transportation and food go hand in hand. I mean, we got the Del Taco, we got the easements.
Hardly.
I don't know where that comes from. Maybe a higher.
So next week, you'll get the Jack in the Box for
Yes.
you. So you'll have a,
Right.
I would say trifecta, but I'm trying to remember the third fast food restaurant. But I
Maybe we
can't.
need to put in a call and just have somebody here to advocate for this. Who knows? Well, some samples, maybe. Who knows?
Councilmember Wilks?
No, I think it's great work. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion on ordinance number 1.618 on second reading.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.618 on second reading, please.
Second.
Motion is made by Rivera, seconded by Hendricks. Rivera?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks? Dyak?
Yes.
Wilks?
Aye.
That passes 5-0. I'll entertain a motion on ordinance number 1.621 on second reading.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.621 on second reading, please.
Second.
Motion is made by Rivera, seconded by Wilks. Rivera?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilks?
Aye.
That passes 5-0. And last is ordinance number 1.622.
I move to approve ordinance number 1.622 on second reading, please.
Second.
Motion is made by Rivera, seconded by Barrington. Rivera?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilks?
Aye.
And that passes 5-0. Next up is ordinance number 9.372 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement between the Douglas County Clerk and Recorder and the Town of Parker regarding the conduct of the and administration of the November 5th, 2024 coordinated election.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chris Vanderpool, Town Clerk, Town of Parker. This item is approving the IGA between the Douglas County Clerk and Recorder and the town regarding the conduct and administration of the November 5th, 2024 coordinated election. Back in February 20th, Town Council passed Resolution 24-014 stating the town's intent to participate in the November Douglas County coordinated election. Because of that, and under the Uniform Election Code, the town and the county are required to enter into an IGA to conduct the election. $50,000 has been budgeted in the election line item for the election this year. Is there any questions?
All right, we'll go to questions. Councilmember Rivera, you want to start us off?
No questions.
Councilmember Barrington?
No questions. Thanks,
Councilmember
Chris.
Hendricks?
None.
Councilmember Dyak?
No questions.
Councilmember Wilks?
No.
All right, with that, we'll open it up for public comment at 7:48 PM. Anyone from the public wishing to make comment? We'll close it at 7:48. And council, any final comments starting with Councilmember Wilks?
No. Thank you.
Councilmember Dyak?
Nope, thanks.
Councilmember Hendricks?
I'm good.
Councilmember Barrington?
No questions.
Councilman Rivera?
No statements.
And other than, I wish we were like Lone Tree and we just could forego our elections here, so that'd be nice. But other than that, we will entertain a motion on ordinance number 9.372.
I move to approve ordinance number 9.372 on second reading.
Second.
Motion is made by Hendricks, seconded by Wilks. Rivera?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilks?
Aye.
And that passes 5-0. Next up is ordinance number 5.28.35 on second reading. A bill for an ordinance to amend Chapter 5.02 of the Parker Municipal Code, authorizing the town clerk to administratively approve special events permits. So this is a little bit of a special one because this is a redo from mayoral veto 3 weeks ago. It's been a long time since we here. So I've asked the town attorney to give the background of this and then what we're doing tonight going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, by way of background, the town clerk's office first came before council on June 17th. Sorry about that. On June 17th, to present a request for a council to consider ordinance number 5.28.35, allowing the town clerk's office to administratively approve special events permits related to the service of liquor at those events. Council voted to approve that ordinance in a 6-0 vote to approve it. And pursuant to our charter, while a non-voting member of council, the mayor does have authority to enter a veto for any ordinance passed by council. The mayor exercised his right to veto that ordinance on the record on that same date on June 17th. And based on that process, the town brings back the ordinance for council to reconsider at a subsequent council meeting. When council reconsiders that, if they vote to approve it, it has to be by a 2/3 vote of council. So we need a minimum of 4 approving members in this ordinance. The mayoral veto can be overridden and the ordinance can be approved. If there are questions procedurally, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, the clerk's office may have additional information.
Yep. Any questions from the town attorney?
None.
Okay. Anyone? All right. Madam Town Clerk, floor is yours.
So this ordinance would allow the town clerk to administratively approve applications for special event permits. Having the ability to do this would provide for greater efficiency and a higher level of customer service within the town clerk's office for the applicant and staff processing the applications. Typically, the applicant has appeared before the authority and made a brief presentation. And most all of the information is provided in the questionnaire. So oftentimes the authority doesn't have a lot of questions and just rubber stamps it. If in the review process of the application, staff will still have the ability to refer the application to the authority for their approval if we deem necessary. In the history of special event applications being heard before the authority, there's never been a protest come before them. There are certain requirements that have to be met by the state for this application, and one of those requirements is that the property be posted with the event for a period of 10 days to allow the public to lodge their comments or concerns. Should that happen, the application will be referred to the licensing authority for their approval. On April 18th, the authority met and discussed the proposed ordinance at that time and recommended that council approve this ordinance. Does anybody have any further questions? Oh, I do have additional information to add. Just for a little bit of background information, since the beginning of January, the licensing authorities heard 3 new liquor licenses, 10 renewal applications, because there was information possibly derogatory that would make it not permissible to have the application approved administratively. There was also 10 special event permit applications they heard. As far as administrative approvals, since January of 2024, There have been 5 change of manager applications, 2 corporate reported change applications, 1 temporary liquor sales room application, 3 modification of premise applications, 49 liquor license renewal applications, 4 tastings permit applications, and 5 liquor license transfer applications. And with that, if there's any questions.
All right. Councilmember Hendricks, you want to kick this off?
No questions.
Councilmember Barrington?
Just for clarification, and this is just to go on the record, just so anyone that did have any sort of derogatory information would still need to go in front of the liquor board, the special licensing board, and it could not be administratively approved.
So that's correct. Generally, in special event applications, you won't find that there's derogatory information in most cases.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rivera?
Thank you. Derogatories in legal words is maybe not the same as what I'm thinking of when I hear derogatory. Can you give me an example of derogatory information, please?
So like in the case of a new application or a transfer application, we'll do a background check with the police department and fingerprints. If there's something derogatory, like that somebody has a background, maybe they haven't explained in their individual history record, that would go before the authority. If, like in a renewal application, if there was information that in police reports that would indicate overservice, that would go before the authority.
So it's safe to say that if any red flags are found during the investigation,
Correct.
that it immediately goes to a council of the peers, and then the peers rule on whether that entity or that person is able to attain a license.
Correct. It would go to the authority for their approval.
Councilmember Dyak?
Yeah, I have more of a legal process question, Jamie. Are we trying to remake the record that we did on June 17th, or add to it, or, I mean, what's our role here? I mean, I could ask questions that we've asked and answered. What's the purpose of?
You can do both. We had the public hearing for the last second reading. I guess this is technically the third reading
yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
So that record still exists.
Okay.
So you don't need to restate that information. You can certainly ask questions again that were discussed the last time, though.
Okay. Chris, I mean, and again, I guess we heard derogatory. I mean, if there is a public concern, that would again be promoted up administratively, from administrative to a public meeting. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Wilkes?
Yeah, so a couple questions. So the sign is posted for the special event for the 10 days. Let's say there is someone that wants to protest that. How would they go about doing that? Obviously, if it's getting, like if we approve it tonight and it gets approved administratively, how would somebody pose that concern to you that would then kick it from administrative approval up to SLA board approval?
Right, so there's contact information on the sign to contact the clerk's office. If we do receive comments or a request to make a comment, then the application would be set on the authority's agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, so that's
them
our
to-
fail-safe, is if somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I don't like this event, or I have some concerns with this event, that's an automatic trigger that it cannot be administratively approved. It has to go in front of the SLA board.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then if I'm reading the numbers correctly, things that have been administratively approved already without going in front of the SLA board this year is 69 total items.
Okay.
And the board itself has seen a total of 33 items. So it seems like you're already, as an administrator, already approving quite a few things, and the things that do go to the SLA, it's the things that, have little red flags or yellow flags, and something that you can't just
Correct.
administratively approve. So we've already got a precedent of you being able to administratively approve things without going in front of the SLA board. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That was all my questions. Thank you.
And just to correct the record, Councilmember Wilkes, it's 23 items, not 33, right?
Sorry, yep, 23.
Yep.
I'm still on
Okay.
vacation brain.
Councilmember Hendricks?
And just This is obviously deals with alcohol, but so if for some reason it's denied, the event can still happen, just no
Correct.
alcohol, right?
It's just the alcohol.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Chris, just a couple questions from me. So I know that they approved it on April 18th. I watched the video of the meeting, but who asked for this? Who initiated this change? Was it members of the SLA, and who was it on the SLA that initiated this?
So I think staff posed the question,
Okay.
and Kelly thought that it was a good idea, the chair.
Okay. So staff brought this to the SLA. So they didn't, but they listened to it and approved it. And then if, just based on your experience with the SLA, so if they didn't have the special events to do, what are we going to have them do?
So they have to hear all the new applications. If there's any renewal applications that staff can approve. If they're like compliance checks, those have to be heard by them as well.
So if we look at the first 6 months, if this were in effect on January 1st, if they would have had 13 items to discuss over 6 meetings?
And, some of these renewal applications, because they don't take them lightly, they're very involved.
Okay.
Sometimes they go forward to a renewal hearing.
Okay. So does the clerk's office, do you and Corey, do you have any other initiatives pending with the SLA right now to either take initial liquor licenses in-house for administrative approval?
No.
Or the renewals? Okay. And these renewals that we have here are only if they don't have derogatories, right? You're administratively approving renewals.
We're administrative.
Sans
right,
derogatory.
That do not have derogatory
Okay.
information.
All right. Council, any other questions?
I guess, yeah, if you could, real quick, can you talk about your other administrative approval responsibilities? So renewals, what else do you have that is under that gamut?
So the list
Thank you.
here, so if there's a change in manager, if there's a corporate reported change in a business, we review and approve those or not approve them. Temporary sales room, that one is there, and that one is important because there's a 10-day turnaround with the state, so that's an important administrative approval. Modification of premises, these things are vetted through the planning department as well before they're signed off on. Liquor license, again, liquor license renewals that don't have derogatory information. Tastings permits, those run concurrent with the liquor renewal. And then liquor license transfer, so a transfer of a liquor license from, let's see, I can't think of a current one. But transferring the same type of liquor license from one business to another business at the same location, where there's no derogatory information again. So,
Okay. And then, is it safe to say that the majority of these event licenses, those are groups of citizens or not-for-profits that are putting on events to serve alcohol at an event? So they're going through the permit process, correct? And you talked about the 10-day turnaround. How long does it take for a not-for-profit to run through the current process as it is, getting in front of the SLA?
so if we have a complete application, then we would make the sign for them, and they have to post their property for 10 days. If there's no protests, then I could sign off on the application administratively. If there's an indication of a protest, then it would go to the authority.
So, but currently, without your administrative approval, as it's in front of us tonight, if the current system as it is, the status quo, if a group came to you for a liquor license for an event, how long would that process take at minimum?
So we always ask for 30 days so that we have time to review the application, post the property, go to the hearing.
Are you comfortable guesstimating on how many of these special event permits are reoccurring annually?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
there's a lot of them.
a lot of them? Okay, thank you.
The bigger events on town property are also run concurrent with a community event process. So there's that piece as well.
So the timing on those not-for-profits that to go out, the citizens to go out and time their community event permit with also the liquor licensing permit, they can run into problems. Are there maybe groups that haven't had a chance to get that done and their event is either delayed or,
Yeah,
okay,
sometimes they run up against, we have one entity that they decide they're going to have an event at the last minute, and so it's rushed to meet the deadlines.
And
This
when they-
would- This
when-
would,
okay.
this would help them.
And when they rush to meet the deadline, do you then put stuff aside to help them meet that deadline? Is this a lesser of a burden to you because you don't have to focus on somebody running late?
We try to help them out because it's a nonprofit trying to
So-
raise funds for a good cause.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's open it for public comment at 8:05. Anyone from the public wish to make public comment? Seeing none, we'll close it back at 8:05 and bring it back to the council. Council, with your consent, I'd like to start and pitch my case as the one that vetoed it in the first place. I think what you've seen here tonight, where we talked about the plans for the Chambers retail, you've seen evidence of it, right? This council, and it's been previous councils, but we've given up our ability to approve a site plan. That's gone administrative. And you may say that, well, we don't have the experience to do it, we don't have the skill to do it, but you're still responsible to the community. And that's what this feels like we're doing. If you looked back on the last public hearings that they had, two groups, the Rotary and Douglas County Pride, it was really a good and unique exchange. Both groups got up there, the four board members asked them questions about times. Were they tips trained? Were they this? Were they that? Our board, our appointed body, representing us on this SLA, was very engaged with these. And I thought it was very uniquely engaged with Douglas County Pride. I thought there was a lot of good stuff. There was a lot of stuff clarified during that public hearing, whether it was going to be August 3rd and 4th. Anya clarified it, nope, it's only the 4th, but we'll be out there at this time. There was a really good exchange that, just administratively doesn't happen. These are our representatives to the SLA, and if we're going to take away 50% of their workload, I just think that's setting a bad precedent, and it's the wrong thing to do. I thought for a moment, I saw some posts by Councilmember Hefta that said this was a workload issue. Thanks, Chris, for providing those details. It's obviously not a workload issue. I get the expediency part, but what this board does is very important. Their voice is very important, and their interaction with these groups are very important. I especially liked at the same meeting in the renewals, Bob from Dakota. I didn't realize what the SLA did fully, but Bob from Dakota had to come stand at that podium and defend 3 derogatories before his liquor license would get renewed. There's value in that. There's value in this board engaging with the citizens. And if we take that away, even to the nonprofits, if we take that away, we're doing a disservice to the board, and we're doing a disservice to ourselves. We're going to continue a road until everything is going to not go past the Planning Commission. It's going to be administrative, and we're going to erode it to the point where public hearings, because we don't have people coming and disputing because they're trusting their council, that those are going to be asked to be taken administratively, and it's just the wrong precedent. So I'm encouraging this council, nothing's going to change for the SLA if we still have them continue to do this. So I'm going to ask for a no vote on this ordinance. Who would like to start with comments next?
I'll go.
Councilmember Rivera?
Thank you. I think this is a good example of a situation where we agree. And I have always been a thorn in the side of administrative approval for those exact words. Taking away, the public hearing process or removing it. But as I've learned in the process, as far as community development goes, there's the policies. We're the legislators, and we set the policies, and we set, the codes and the things that they have to abide by. And we could handle those issues, in my feelings, after many long discussions with community development director, we can handle those legislatively, rather than ruling from the dais and risking, a bad hearing, if you will. In this situation, I do agree, but the check and balance that I found here when I ruled on this 3 weeks ago, and the balance I still see here is that it gets kicked up if there's a citizen protest. You get kicked up if there's any kind of protest, and the board would hear it. And so to me, that gives me it gives me a reassurance that if there is something that the citizens are worried about, that this community is worried about, it's going to come in front of the appointed board. And the same with the clerk. If the clerk, for example, community development, sees something that they know is going to have a lot of community output, they're going to kick that back to the planning commission for a hearing, and the clerk would have that same ability if there is something that maybe would be a little too, I don't know, risque. Then the clerk's office is going to kick that to the public board. So I see a little bit of balance. I'm always hesitant to take away the people's power. My other point, though, and I appreciate your statement here, but I think that Madam Clerk touched on this a little bit. The workload is not just by cases. There are certain items that they hear that are heavily involved. A liquor license change, a renewal, those things, especially if, a friend of ours has 3 strikes or whatnot. Those are cases that happen all night. I've stood, not at that podium, but I come from the bar and restaurant business. I've been there, and it is not easy. And so it is, and that's warranted. That's absolutely warranted, and it should be, because this is life and death when you're dealing with overservice of alcohol or underage alcohol service or DUIs or whatever the case is. It's very warranted. So I believe that aspect is untouchable, and as long as I'm sitting here. But when I see certain things for not-for-profits that are coming back year after year to do the same event they've done year after year, and the appointed board that we appointed, and their chair, who has been on that board for some years now, feels that this is something that would benefit their rulings, I'm going to side with them. I do see your concerns, Mr. Mayor, and I do fight over those same concerns, but I've also seen from the other side that there is still that check and balance. So,
Councilmember Barrington?
So I have stood in front of the Special Licensing Committee several times, and there have events events that we wanted to hold, and we wanted to have liquor, and we knew we weren't going to hit the deadline. So we had to postpone the event until the following year. So I think that this is it's an efficiency thing. I believe that there are checks and balances. I don't think that everything should just be administratively approved either. But in this case, what they're filling out on the application, it's basically, it's a formality, a lot of it. And I just think that it's going to be more efficient, and I think the Special Licensing Authority still has plenty of responsibility. It's not that we want to take something away from them. I think they also agreed that this could be approved administratively. So I'm still a yes on this.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yeah, I have some unique experience with this as well. I'm one of the planners for Parker Brew Fest for my Rotary Club, and been doing it for 7 years. And even this year, 7th year now, we started the process in January, and we had a decision last month, so it took 6 months. And that's a long time for a nonprofit to get approval for our most important fundraiser, and going down to the wire. So I appreciate the efficiency aspect of this. It's the same questions every year. Nothing's really changed. So to me, make it more efficient and kind of ease our concerns with, can we even have the event, is appreciated. The board is fine with this decision, so I take that into consideration as well. And then there are checks and balances. If something is amiss, then they'll go in front of the board. So I don't really see the harm in this. So I'm in favor of moving forward.
Councilmember Dyak?
Thank you. I think on the 17th we had some good dialogue. Additional information was presented. I think we as a municipality, we strive to give the citizens the forum to be heard, but we also want to be effective and efficient to facilitate their needs. We have, if you want to build a deck, you can go and submit that. That doesn't come before a board. That might be contentious to some neighbors, but there is criteria, there's a process. We have, the minor development plat. That is basically, it comes to council because I think it's in our town charter, but it's a very objective process. There's a checklist. The criteria of is the plat formatted right. There's nothing else other than going down a checklist in a minor development plat to then approve it. If you bring it out to a public meeting, that's great. We can certainly listen, and sometimes we're listening to things which aren't relevant to the agenda item at hand. Throughout the years, we've had issues such as a minor development plat, and people were advocating that we should say no to a zoning question, which really was addressed many decades before. So, I think I'm comfortable with what staff has provided. I don't have an issue with creating more efficiency. I appreciate if there is an issue, it gets promoted up to a public meeting. I think that sort of satisfies any concern that I would have on this. If that wasn't there, I think it would be challenging, and we solved that in a previous item with the Planning Commission. I forget what action item we had for that one. So, this process of promoting up when there is public interest or issues sort of has been done for a few years at least, successfully and without issue.
Councilmember Wilks.
Yeah, so sitting on the SLA board for our town for 2 years, I've got, a unique perspective on this. The packets that we would get before our meetings, me personally, they take me sometimes up to 2 hours to read because we have to go through every police report and every application, and we're reading and looking for discrepancies, and this is above what, administrative people have already looked through and dug through. But then when it came to the special event permits, I appreciate that you watched it, and they're asking questions like, are you tip certified, and what does this event look like, and are you serving minors? But we literally asked that to every single special event permit that came forward. Like that's not an exception that we did just for one event that came through. That was like our standard list of questions, and we already knew the answers to them because those answers were already made in the packet. It's more just our own checks and balances. So to Councilmember Barrington's point that the SLA is still going to have plenty to do, they do, because there are certain businesses that come in front of the SLA repeatedly every year and for their renews, and they take a long time to go through, and they're still, as our town grows, we just saw in one of the site plans tonight, he said they were looking to put a liquor store in. Well, as our town continues to grow and more permits and stuff come through, my only reason really for saying yes to this is because all it takes is one yellow flag or one discrepancy or one person to say that they have an issue with it, and it's automatically up to the SLA board. And I have to trust, our staff is far more equipped and far more educated on the application process than the SLA board even sees, because it already comes to the SLA board complete. They're not having them continue stuff on the application. It doesn't even come forward until the application's complete. So for me, as long as we can maintain those checks and balances and we don't ever try to override like, oh, well, now we're going to get rid of the appeal process or we're going to get rid of these, as long as we still have those in place to where if the people do have a problem, even one person has a problem, it can handle it. And I also have to look at the fact that this is the second time we are having a public hearing about this, and there's nobody here saying that they have an issue with this. There's nobody standing in front of us saying, we don't think that this should be done administratively. And, Kelly Nardi's been the chair for the SLA for a couple of years now, and she's served on the SLA for, it feels like forever. And if our chair, who we have appointed to that board, who we trust, is telling us this is going to make life easier and this is what we want, who am I to say no? We've appointed them for a reason, and we have to trust that who we've appointed on this SLA board knows better than we do. And when they're saying that this is a good thing, then I have to trust the people that we've appointed. So,
Council will entertain a motion on ordinance number 5.28.35 on third reading.
I move to approve ordinance number 5.28.35 on third reading.
Councilmember Wilks,
Yeah.
if you can refer to the recommended motion in the packet.
I move to override the mayor's veto of June 17th, 2024, and approve ordinance number 5.28.35.
Second.
Motion is made by Barrington, seconded by Hendricks. Rivera.
Aye.
Barrington.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Dyak. Wilks.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. With no other business before the Parker Town Council, and on the recommendation of the clerk's office, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:20.